Hey everyone, this is Jacqui Cooper with CryptoMom2 Talk Show, and I want to welcome everyone back to this episode. I'm really excited to have a friend on, and we're going to be talking about NFTs and metaverses and all that's happening because this whole area has been exploding, and it's really hard to keep up with all the topics. For those that are new to following my talk show, definitely like and subscribe. I talk to people all around the world, and I am fascinated with the creativity found within the blockchain. I personally got started in exploring the blockchain and cryptocurrency area a few years ago. So I'm considered a relatively newbie to this area, considering that some individuals who I speak with are have been in this field for over 10 years. But as I've been learning, I have been interviewing people around the world in the areas of platforms, white papers, Bitcoin mining, you name it. And the purpose of the talk show is actually to educate you about my journey and help you in yours, and also to inspire and empower others to learn how to stay safe on these platforms, as well as to encourage you to kind of reach beyond. Again, nothing that is shared on any of the shows are financial advice. Everything is personal opinion and experiences that you definitely have to invest at your own risk, because like with every other market, there's volatility, but this is a really exciting time. And I want to welcome my guest. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we're going to kind of dive into our two topics today, which is all about NFTs and the metaverse.
Yeah, I'm Chris Deans, a senior manager at Deloitte's assurance practice, and I'm fully dedicated to blockchain and crypto clients. So, just love helping companies embrace the technology, think through the risks, and in particular, help them on the financial reporting side, thinking through internal controls that are necessary. And then lately, I've also just been getting into to ideation and thinking, more broadly and creatively on new ways to use the technology. So it's a lot of fun.
It is. I know you and I connected, online on social media, and I was super impressed with what you're doing professionally and how you're helping organizations and individuals. What's been your experience in working or getting involved with NFTs?
Yeah, definitely. And I guess before I forget, just need to plug that any thoughts that I share are my own personal thoughts and don't represent anything of the firm. And yeah, so maybe about a year ago, started getting into NFTs just personally. Over the Christmas break, took a deep dive, and it just really resonated with me. And I think just starting very broadly, before NFTs, it stands. Let's just kind of break it down very quickly. So it stands for non-fungible tokens. So whenever we think about Bitcoin or Ether as crypto assets for exchange, each one of those tokens is synonymous and interchangeable. Whereas a non-fungible token from the technology side is still a token that lives on the blockchain, but each of them are unique, and so it makes for a great way to represent the ownership or unique information of something. And since it does have that uniqueness to it, just allows for, I think when we think about intellectual property that was owned and closely held by large companies and things like that, these NFTs make for just a fantastic vehicle to be able to fractionalize and represent that ownership and let average folks like myself own a little piece of something cool and be able to transact it in a very transparent and immutable manner, since it's on the blockchain. And so, which is really impressed by that. Just believe that there's a lot of potential. And I had gotten into that personally, and then at Deloitte, we just started getting phone calls from companies interested in it, seeing what early adopters are doing out there, and trying to figure out how they can interact with their following, attract new interests, and just really incorporate it into their business in a lot of different ways. And ever since then, I've kind of just been plugged into that with, at Deloitte, and have been along for the ride.
So you mentioned a few things, and again, you might have knowledge about this, or we might have to, share it at a future time. You had mentioned that a token is individual, but I do often see that on some of the platforms where I'm actually accessing NFTs, it says one of 10,000 or one of a certain number. How is that possible then if it's just if it's supposed to be a unique token? How does that work?
Yeah, good questions. So you can still have a series of, let's think about collectibles. So maybe there's a certain digital collectible card. We can use NBA Top Shots. It's like a LeBron James dunk collectible from a certain date. Well, they will issue a whole series, maybe 10,000 of those. So a lot of people can participate and collect those. But each of those, even though the intellectual property behind that is consistent and the rights associated with it, each of those is technically unique in that it will be serial number 1 of 10,000 or 5 of 10,000. And so while there can be multiple iterations of it, still has that uniqueness behind it.
Have you started to create your own NFTs?
I haven't. Big collector of NFTs, have some ideas, and that's on my personal list. Once I get a little bit more caught up at work, would just, really want to explore that. And, so many fun things. I was like, what if I started minting birthday cards as NFTs and send it to my friends, and then it's immutable and they can always go back and look at it. And, it's a memory that will last forever. So I think there's just a lot of fun ideas that you can use for it.
Yeah, for sure. I actually have started to create NFTs on OpenSea and some of the other platforms. And just like you just mentioned, I have created certain cards just like that for this. I haven't shared it out yet, but I was experimenting with the idea of, for birthdays, for weddings, other events. And you're right, it's a special memory that someone can hold. Of course, you have to figure out where you're holding it, your wallet, that's a whole nother conversation. But are there anything in particular about NFTs and that you want to share in terms of things that individuals need to be aware of, or trends that you're seeing? What because I know you have your finger on the pulse of a lot of things.
Yeah. So one question I get all the time is Chris, like, help me understand this phenomenon. Like, the sales went from tens of millions to tens of billions and over, just under a year. Like, what is behind this? Like, how do we explain it? And there's so many just like silly caricatures that are going for millions of dollars. Like, just, I think for starters, maybe just trying to get our arms around that. And, I didn't have a great answer for a long time, but what really struck me is hearing this concept that there's this fundamental human need to belong to a social community. And so when I think in the past, that need was really satisfied in person through, organizations and meetups and things like that. But, as we live in a post-COVID world where everything was already moving more digital, we're more remote than ever. People are satisfying this need to belong to communities in these online forums. And so when we look at some of the most popular NFTs, they have these really strong communities built around them. And when you're buying, that exclusive NFT, you're really buying admission into that social community. And you can hop on the Discord servers and, be as involved and participate with those people. And that, that's also like a place where there's a lot of collaboration and people, thinking of business ideas, bartering skill sets, and all sorts of things. And so I think that's definitely like a key piece of it. And then there's also this concept of digital identity. And so say, going back to, a digital collectible LeBron James, maybe that's your favorite player. And when you're buying that NFT and in the future, there'll be more and more ways to be able to kind of display that as a part of your own digital identity and associate yourself with that artist or athlete or, celebrity, like whatever it is. And so I think it also kind of speaks to, your individual idea, expressing, your interests to others. I think that's a big part of the value that we're seeing in NFTs, particularly here in the short term, where I think, most of what we're hearing about NFTs, I would say, is just very novelty. It's a lot about collectibles, it's a lot about digital art. Whereas I think the longer term, we're going to see more and more like applications to business, like contracts being written as NFTs and things like that, like a little more tangible. And, whenever I think of value in NFTs, the concept of holding an NFT and it having utility is really powerful. And, it's not, thinking about the ones that, maybe it is a collectible, but does that collectible give you specific access to, a private Discord channel, or does it enter you into a drawing, or does it get you into admission into a party somewhere, things like that. And so I think we're going to see more and more utility baked into these NFTs, and thus see, really start to use them in the ways that they're intended to be used.
And that's an area that I'm really fascinated about, the utility side of it. And also, like you talked about, how businesses can or are already incorporating. And that might be a whole nother conversation that you and I can have in a future episode. I want to kind of go over to another area that I'm really fascinated about, and that's the metaverse, because there are so many, things popping up these days about companies like H&M who created a metaverse so that way people can go shopping and get clothes for their avatars, and then eventually it'll end up being where they can just order from the shop and it'll get drop shipped to them. To me, it is fascinating. And also the technology behind it. I mean, that to me is just incredible, that you can, and I know it's probably existed for a while, but you can walk through rooms, you can talk, you can sit at a conference table with people and actually, feel like you're in the space, not just on no, I'm not going to call you flat, but a flat Zoom, where we're, talking. I mean, the metaverse has so many more dimensions. What are your thoughts about that? And what kind of things have you been exploring and seeing?
Yeah, so, I kind of arrived to the metaverse through blockchain and NFTs, but it's really so much more broader than that. It's a convergence of technology. And I think that's just a general trend in technology we'll see continue. And, technically a metaverse doesn't have to be blockchain enabled. We've had digital worlds, think about like video games, before, and but I think there's an increased value proposition dramatically by having a blockchain enabled one. And I think a great story about that is actually from Vitalik Buterin, who's one of the creators of Ethereum. So he, gosh, this is back in 2014, 2015, was a big player on World of Warcraft, which we can call a metaverse, just people online interacting in a digital world. And one day, he had put in a lot of work. He had a bunch of great assets like spells, things like that. I don't know too much about it, but and then one day the developers changed one of the aspects of it and removed his favorite ability from his favorite player, and it just devastated him. And he said he cried himself to sleep and was just traumatized. And that was actually the inspiration for him to create Ethereum, because he didn't want people, he saw the downside of this centralized control, whether it is within a metaverse or for, the exchange of value, whatever application, but just the downside of centralization. And so he wanted to create the foundation of, a decentralized economy. And so that's what, yeah. And so I think that component is really powerful when you blend that with the digital world, because now, yeah, like keeping with video game example, we have this, the play to earn concept,
Yeah.
most popular by Axie Infinity, which I think is still like the highest transacting NFT to date. Just shows the power of whenever you're putting in the time to earn, these items in a game, whether it's like a sword or a character or, whatever attribute, you have control, act like true control over that. And you can then monetize that and sell it on a secondary marketplace. But it's really it's transitioning that control from centralization to decentralization. And then when we also think about, like another popular metaverse that's coming down the pipeline, the Sandbox. So you have that blockchain, infrastructure. You characters like myself, like I own some land in there. I own some NFTs, like a sword and a dragon and things like that. And then I also own some sand, which is the underlying governance token. So I have the right to use the land and these items, but I also have, voting rights if I choose to participate with those governance tokens to help with the overall decision making. And so, just thinking of myself as a participant in there, it's like, you really, like, the users are more in control and can help drive these metaverses. And it's just a really profound shift. And I think it's extremely appealing for the individual people. We're going to have whole, it's the foundation to build whole economies within there. People are going to be able to work in the metaverse, to collaborate on projects. You can play and have fun. And I think of the metaverse really just as a blank canvas where it really, once you set those kind of foundational aspects of it and give the tools to people to be able to create, it's really, just opens up the human potential for creativity to interact and experience in all sorts of different ways. And so it's still super early. And, there's a lot of like the augmented virtual reality technology needs maturing before we're really going to see the true benefits of. When everyone talks about metaverse, we're really talking about more of a future state that's going to be a little more developed, but the potential is massive, and the opportunities for companies and organizations to develop those experiences, again, to interact with their current followings, attract new people, a big opportunity for them as well.
One of the areas that I'm involved in, besides having a law background, I'm also a teacher. And so when I started to learn more about the metaverse, I was thinking about all the possibilities of creating, something that's more exciting for students who are separate from a Zoom type of learning that we had to experience because of the COVID situation. And I kept thinking, if I had the ability to create like a little metaverse classroom, where the kids created their avatars and then we had conversations, and I was able to put on the digital board different things, just the idea of engagement. And my kids, they thrived in the virtual side, but it took a lot of work and a lot of parent involvement, and the kids were actively engaged, but not all the kids, not everyone had that same experience. So I'm looking forward to the idea that the metaverse creates alternative school situations to help students of all ages and learning styles, because I think that it will just provide more resources no matter where you're located, around the globe, because again, there are many in other countries as well that don't have the same resources that we do. And so if we're able to have an online schooling type of situation to provide the education to, it kind of levels the playing field. It's that same peer-to-peer type of conversation that you were talking about in terms of having control over certain things, but just from an education side. So that's in 10 years, I'm just kind of looking forward to either being part of that or seeing where it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm a visual learner myself, and I would have paid more attention in history class if we were, it's like you're on a field trip inside the metaverse, observing
Exactly.
history, and things like that.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. I mean, because you can connect people who are in Boston or other places around the world and have them share what's going on in that location. And then all of a sudden, like you said, there's more relevance. So what about on the business side? Where do you see that the metaverse might be going? I know we talked about the gaming side, and that's there for sure from an entertainment and enjoyment leisure perspective. What about business?
yeah, I think there's a lot of interest from retail companies to, we talk about you have your avatars that are walking through there, and these, if you're a shoe company, being able to have your special shoes that you sell to, because I think people want to. The metaverse is a great place to express yourself and your style and things like that. So they want to be able to sell that merchandise so you can properly express yourselves, or maybe it even has special capabilities and those shoes can jump higher or run faster and things like that. So that's certainly one aspect of it. And then I think there's really so many applications for a lot of industries. I don't think it'll be quite ripe for most industries to take advantage of it. But even payment processors, established like traditional companies wanting to be able to integrate to help, just for the high volume of transactions that are going to be expected within the metaverse. So, and then, I think for each company, there's internal applications as well as external. Kind of going back to teaching, there's a lot of training applications that can take place, whether it's white collar and, like at Deloitte, we do like simulations in person on client interactions and things like that. A great example of how you could do that and make it an even more immersive experience and training like that. And I think even more so for, like construction companies, saw something about even like medical training, specific things. So, still building the building blocks of it all, and will take some time, but I think there's just a broad range of applications to be used.
So what is your background?
So I'm at Deloitte, a financial statement auditor, and focused on accounting. And as time goes on, I've shifted more and more closer to the technology, because that's what really energizes me.
Yeah. So where do you see the knowledge base that individuals might need to develop certain skills in order to be part of this community? I mean, because all of us are, I don't want to say learning on the fly, because for the technical coding individuals, they have to know specific coding in order to work within the blockchain. But what skill sets do you think that people might need for as NFTs, metaverse, and this whole area develops?
Yeah, I guess I'll start by saying it definitely seems very daunting to try to get involved, because there is so much to learn, and it moves so quickly. But I like to flip the coin and say, because it is so new, nobody really knows all that much about it. So even if just putting in a little bit of effort and learning makes you so much farther ahead of the game than most people. And so, just speaking from my own experience, like reading CoinDesk every day and just getting a feel for what's happening, because it is moving so quickly. So even if you just start following the news now, you're gonna get a good sense for what's happening. And then I think couple that with just watching educational videos on YouTube. You can go down some rabbit holes of all sorts of different topics. There's a number of then reading books, and I've tried to do just some online courses as well, just on these broad like educational platforms. They have plenty of courses on blockchain fundamentals, which is a good place to start, just so you can kind of have understand some of these keywords as they come up in other areas and things like that. So I think it's a broad approach, and it depends kind of which direction you want to go in. But yeah, the main point is, if you feel a calling towards this, just start doing something, just start learning, do a little bit every day. And I think you'll be surprised a year from now, like how far you've come and how much more confident you are in just having the conversations and exploring thought.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. I know that when I started a number of years ago, again, I quit everything to the education. I was definitely at a pre-K stage, and now I might be at a third or fourth grade stage just because of the knowledge base that I've gained. But like you said, as long as you plug away a little bit at a time and keep talking to people, you end up being a lot more knowledgeable. I mean, I definitely, when I think about people who are doing the coding, I view them at the graduate stage right now. So yeah.
And you don't have to understand the coding. Like
No.
that's still something I'm trying to learn about. But it doesn't stop you from, you just need to build your conceptual understanding of how these things work. And certainly, you can either partner with people who are more technical, or, you can cross those bridges like as you get to them, but it's definitely not a necessity to start exploring the space.
Yeah, no, true. And even on the NFT side, when I started creating NFTs about a year ago, there's still so much for me to learn, but I realized through trial and error how to create and then what to embed, and different platforms were a little bit friendlier than others. But again, it's like anything that we learn, you have to kind of stumble a little bit and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Even right now, the Olympics are going on. They don't become gold medalists at the beginning. They always have to have their first steps. So,
Absolutely.
so any last minute thoughts on either the NFTs or the metaverse? I know you and I are going to have continuing conversations as this area evolves because it's so fascinating. But any last minute thoughts that you want to share as takeaways?
Yeah, I guess just that, it's so very early right now. And so, years ago when I got into the space, I was like, oh, I'm behind. Like, I feel like I missed everything, and we're still in the same place. So, there's so many new careers that are going to be made from this, and career paths that are going to, change that, I would just say, if you feel a calling, I think it's a great direction to go in. It's going to be converging with other technologies, and we can really only see. I feel like our vision is always limited by just the technology that's the concepts that are right in front of us. But as
Yeah.
as these come together, they create new things, and then those combine with other new things that have come together. And I think it's going to be just a really fun journey, and want to see where this goes. And I think the metaverse is just like any technology. It can be used for good and it can be used for bad. And so that's the responsibility of us within the ecosystem to be, to be thoughtful, to be responsible, and to make sure that we're building a foundation that is equitable and transparent for all.
I would agree with you on everything that you're saying. And it definitely is evolving. And as a teacher, I'm excited for all the students that I'm helping right now, because I know within 10 to 15 years, there's so many new things that they're going to be able to explore, and career paths that didn't even exist, 10 years ago. And, you talk about Ethereum and the creation, you look at Bitcoin, you look at how everything, all the altcoins that have popped up. I mean, again, you're right. The limit is there is no limit. It's just our imagination, and what we currently know is just that. It's what we currently know. It's, something new is about to pop up tomorrow, and all of a sudden we say, "Wow, where did that happen? And how cool is that?" So for everyone that's listening, definitely like and subscribe. I do want to share that I will have different links on the bottom of the talk show, so that way you can, gain access to myself as a consultant. I don't charge for the consulting, and it's not financial advice, but I'm happy to kind of share resources with you. I'm also in the process of writing a book I'm really excited about, which is going to be for kids in cryptocurrency. So definitely stay tuned about that. So there's just a lot going on, and it's really exciting to have you on, Chris. Thank you so much for being on, and everyone, thank you so much, and be kind to each other. We are one world, and let's treat each other nicely. Have a great one. Thank you. Bye.